All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I am delighted to welcome you all to our second TikTok 2023 AIEI EATLAB. You are with me, 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒈, or you can call me Jade. I am a moderator for today's talk. Let me tell you a little bit about our series of this TikTok. This talk will provide you with a special opportunity to get knowledge from professionals who give you the functional language you need for real life and hands-on tasks in the technical, industrial, and scientific fields. Right now, I'd like to introduce you to our second TikTok series of 2023 on the topic of building an AI startup. Our today's speaker is CEO and co-founder of EATLAB, a company that helps small and medium-sized businesses run promotion campaigns to maximize their average order value. The basis of her work is a proprietary technology to measure customer satisfaction. Prior to starting EATLAB, she was a quantitative book trader and co-founded a startup Metronet or Series D. She is the only Thai person who was selected to attend Singularity University, where Elon Musk is a board of director. She graduated with a PhD from MIT in mechanical engineering with a minor in political science and math, a master's degree from MIT Media Lab, and a bachelor's degree from Carnegie Mellon University with a double minors in robotics and computer science. Everyone, please welcome Assistant Professor Dr. Chanikarn Wongviriyawong, or Dr. Min.
Great. Thank you so much. It was a great introduction. Really appreciate having me on the call here. And hello, everyone. So today I'll be talking about my journey in starting EATLAB. So let me first share my screen here. There you go. So again, thank you for a nice and lovely introduction. My name is Mint, and you can call me Mint. I am a co-founder and a CEO of EATLAB. We are, I'm going to be going through a little bit. I'll talk about EATLAB in the beginning, and then I'll share a little bit of my experience having built this company and what I learned along the way, which I hope will be useful for all of you who are actually looking to start companies or already in it, or, joining early stage startups. So I'll tell you, it's a great journey. It's really a great journey. So a little bit about EATLAB. So apparently we're AI companies, you can see. What we do is we target small and medium-sized enterprises to really help them with promotions. And, that's like the niche area where we go in. So a little bit about me, I graduated in 2012. I attended Singularity University. I raised the first fund from Andreessen Horowitz, was, attending NASA for 6 months. I got a job offer at Harvard, but I turned it down, because I was like, I'll be sharing some difficult decisions I've made. I mean, the Harvard decision was not that hard at all. It's never a big thing for me to actually like have all these names, but because I'm a government scholar, I get a chance to be in different places, in the world when I'm growing my educational exposure. I managed to study in the US from undergraduate all the way through PhD. But during that period, I fly back and forth between Thailand and the US. And then I see a lot of things that I really wanted to change in this country. And so giving up certain opportunities for me in the US was not a difficult situation at all. One of the tough decisions was to leave my government stipulation. I was supposed to work for the government for 20 years. Upon leaving that, I ended up owing the government about 30 million baht or 1 million USD, which that decision I made in order to start this company. So I'll share with you in a little bit of like, what's the purpose of EATLAB and why, all these like difficult decisions that I made in order to get to where I am today. We applied to, the company was started in 2018 by me. I was a solo founder. in 2019, we were accepted as one of the 9 companies in Singapore Accelerator. So it's organized by Singapore government. We were enticed to actually join and then have the company be incorporated there for the sake of like fundraising. And then after iterations and what we learned from those from that acceleration program, we were able to become a profitable business within a year. And what happened after that was we applied for Y Combinator. So if those of you who are in startup world should know Y Combinator. Or maybe is that too big a statement, but I think everybody should know of Y Comp. If you've used, you might have used like some products that were early funded by Y Combinator. And, for example, like Airbnb, Stripe, and all those like big companies, combined valuation of 300 billion USD is the company that they have invested in. So they're really good at spotting out like early companies. So we applied as one of the 10,000 startups who applied, and we got into the first round of like 400 something companies that were interviewed with Y Combinator. They made us change our mind in the business model. So after that, we spent about a year and a half like building and rebuilding EATLAB. After we hit like profitability, we decided to go like, okay, we're going to make a product that it's completely self-served, that user can use on their own. And then it's a full SaaS business model. And then we shift from more like a consulting firm into like a software type of products. And we set up that whole thing, and then we launched it 2021, the end of 2020. And then we managed to like, hit pretty good growth rate. 2022, we raised a Series A round from a PE fund and VC. And then I recruit a CMO and a CTO to join during this past year. And yeah, so as a company, like we are looking to serve the underserved. This is not just for like a PR reason that we're just trying to say like, oh, hey, we're like a superhero, we're out there to save the world. But really, like, to save the world is a big market, right? Because if you can help more people solving the problems that have not been solved before, right, that means like you have a big market. Like it's a untapped potential. So that's what we're going into. But of course, the underserved comes in variety of shapes and form. For example, SMEs, like we're targeting restaurants. There's so many types of restaurants, like going from the รถเข็น all the way up to like ร้านลุงandป้า and all the way to say like fine dining. So many types of restaurants, right? How could we come up with a single solution or multiple of those single solutions that would help so eventually solve all of their problems? So we got to start somewhere. Then we started to pick a very niche market and really work closely with them to iterate the product in that directions. So the segment that we target is a new business owner. So this is an example of someone who was, a full-time employee at a big company and left that company to start their own business. He runs a very successful chains of restaurants. We were working with him when he had, only a couple of branches, and then we saw him growing through that process and how busy he got. Sometimes like he was asked to like, go fry the chicken or like do the dishes. So they have to do everything. Their lives are all over the place. So what we're trying to do is to offload some of the work, some of the consistent work out of these people who are starting off the business, getting the business off the ground. So how can we help them as much as we can with tools and stuff? So EATLAB is an automated marketing platform. One of the things that restaurants do and cannot not do is to make food and sell food, right? but to find new customers, to constantly analyze who their customers are, to constantly find a campaign that would bring the customers back, that's something that is always put at the back burner and not prioritized to become like one of the first thing that they do. They, their priority would be to go get ingredients, to buy ingredients, so that when customers come into the store, they'll have something to sell, right? So then all these like marketing activities are kind of like not prioritized, even though that's actually a very important tool to help their business survive and become successful. So that's where we come in. We link between POS data, delivery, and also their storefront. So our AI promotion comes up with new promotion based on their historical sales data to figure out a way to understand why and how the consumer make decisions. So once we know what consumer put value on, you can then engineer the promotion to respond to that type of findings. So that's kind of what happened. We just pick out trends and patterns of the purchase, and then we amplify them so that the customers of the restaurants would see and immediately convert in order to, again, like improve the average ticket. So we do this so that restaurant owners can get more sleep, and they could rest assured that, there's a standard to the running marketing campaigns. So we're a software as a service. People come in, go to our website, 𝒕𝒂𝒓𝒕𝒖𝒑, and then they connect their POS to us, and then they start seeing promotions, right? Like this number changed. Currently we have like 448 users, so these numbers will change too. Yeah, but okay, so that was the month of September last year. Okay, so that was a little bit about EATLAB, just that you could, kind of understand where I'm at. Not trying to, like advertise my company, but I guess I just did. But anyway, so you sort of know like what type of company it is, and like I will be sharing on the main topic today. It's to build, like how I built a startup and what I learned along the way, and I could share my mistake so that it could be a learning lesson for all. I'm not claiming that I'm a successful company, but at least I think I learned a whole lot of things that I didn't know before. So I wish someone had told me that. So yay. All right. So if you have questions along the way from live, can someone actually maybe type in the chat box for me? Okay, great. Right. Because I kind of yeah, still I'm talking to myself, which I am. Anyway, so if you have read any of these blogs or have listen to some of these talks, I mean, it just sounded like building a startup is so easy. Hey, there's like a secret to building a unicorn startup. Like, why don't you listen? And then you will be able to build one, right? I mean, it's really, really hard. I tell you, like, if you have these things, honestly, like, don't read them. I think it's I mean, like if you read them, it should be coming from someone who's built a successful company, like a billion or $1 trillion company, and not so much of like someone who has, yeah. So a great resource would be coming from YC. They've done a pretty good like series of mistakes that founders have made that they've systematized into bullet points. So, but honestly, there's no easy road towards building a company. It requires like a lot of groundwork. It requires a lot of mental strength and power for, just so many different things. So we're looking at from the left-hand side and the right-hand side. I mean, you've seen like Top and a CB deal, like Lyman, Wong, Knife, Flash, and all of these as a Thai unicorn. But compared to the right-hand side, where all these are like really, really big companies. So ByteDance it's TikTok, right? So TikTok is I think it's the largest valuation, like highest valuation of a private company. Canva is also very big. But all these companies, what they do in common is they actually solve a problem for a lot of people. They solve a common problem for a lot of people. So instead of thinking like, okay, I wanted to join the club, right? I wanted to be a unicorn. I want to join this club, right? It's more like I want to solve people's problem. I want to be a useful person to the world, like I wanted to do something that will help make lives better in one form or another, right? So Canva, before we have Canva, like I think everybody here uses Canva, if I'm not mistaken, but I think everybody should. Yeah, so before Canva, like we have to download a program called Adobe Illustrator, and it's very expensive, and they charge, and it's like difficult to use, right? So with Canva, you just open a website and then you type canva.com, or you download an app and you have all these amazing templates that you can use. And it requires like 0 to no skill at all. And it's very cheap because it's free. So it totally disrupts that entire market of like Adobe, Photoshop, Illustrator thing, right? So it solved a lot of problem for a lot of people. So SpaceX solved a lot of problem for everybody on Earth, right? So if alien invasion or the world is unlivable anymore, you have to go to a different place, and that's SpaceX, right? So the idea of building a company should be focused on solving people's problem more than just like, I just want to make money for myself. I mean, because if you want to make money for yourself, there's actually an easier way to do that. Thinking about, this is the stats of, each year, let's say all the companies that started, let's say there's like 300 companies, but that's not the exact number. I'm just showing the math, right? About 30% of them, about 10% of them, or 30 companies were able to survive to the next funding round of seed stage, right? So that's like kind of like pre-revenue type of company. Yeah, so you still have ideas, but you think the idea is so great. You started like going out and validating with the market a little bit. You get some signals, but it's still not an obvious signal. And then about 10% of that 10% survive to Series A. And then after that, there's like 35% of that 10% of that 10% of that survives to Series B. And then there's actually between B and the unicorn, the chance is very slim. So if you look at the number, it's like 0.0003. That's like, statistically, if you want to make money, don't start a startup. It's not like the chance is very slim. So you look at the real number, 2022 stats, total companies that were started around the world, 472 million companies, about 1,000 unicorns, right? So unicorns is like either private or public valuation of more than $1 billion USD. And then, like a decacorn or something, that's like 10 times that. That's 48, right? So companies that have joined the unicorn club is 0.0002%. That's not 0.002, that's 0.0002%. So if you want to make money, this is not your game. So if someone is thinking of starting a startup to make money, you should leave this call now, because this is not this is probably not for you, right? So why do people start startups. I mean, for me, like, honestly, I cannot do anything else but starting my own company. I cannot join other people's company because I will have conflicts in my value and ideology with them to a point when I won't be happy, like, with with that company. So for me, it's actually, it's a curse. There's nothing else that I can do except this one. That's why I'm doing it. I honestly don't have a choice for me. This is not a picture that I made, but I took it from somewhere, which I forgot to cite. But anyway, so you can see like a life cycle of a company, right? So you start from like, sometimes like start with research, you still have positive cash flow, and then you have grants, and then you start like, hiring people to do like proof of concept. You started spending money on like, hiring people who are likely probably not going to help your business, and then you keep doing more and more and more of that, and then you're doing experiment, and then the shit gets deeper, and then you like almost run out of money, and you're running out of money, and then you raise fund, and then and then you can continue to do this up to a point where you figure out like, oh shit, I have something, and then I'm gonna start selling, and then I'll start selling, and then I figure out how to sell better, and then I improve until I get past the negative cash flow line. So this area, it's called Valley of Death. It's much longer when you're in it than looking back, right? I just feel like I'm constantly in this like Valley of Death all the time. But yeah, I mean, at the outfront, people say like, hey, you just raised like, a Series A, like, you must be super happy. And like, honestly, I just think that it's not a stamp for approval of any sort. Fundraising is not a stamp of approval. It's just that somebody believed in you enough to put that money in you. So, for me, it's more like, oh shit, I need to work harder to get to the goal where we're all gonna solve people's problems. We're all gonna, like do something that's to build this engine that will continue to perpetuate its value and create and maybe potentially like save some lives. Okay, so if starting a company, starting a startup is not like, a direct means towards making money, then why are you doing it, right? So this will get a little personal because I'm sharing my own story of why I'm doing this. My mom is a single mom, and she has been raising me alone since I was 4 years old, and my sister, who's here, was 2.5 years old. So we've been like, poor, we've been struggling. My mom, like, she put like 100% of her attention into us, into our education, and all through my life until I was, at MIT, I decided that I'm gonna do everything in my power to make my mom proud and happy. And getting a PhD from MIT was really like the milestone for her. And, when I got in, I got a full scholarship from the Institute, which only 4 out of, I don't know how many MIT, students there are, but I was like one of the 4. And so I really felt like, oh, like I'm doing something that should make my mom happy, blah, blah, blah. And then my life started to spiral down from that point. I just felt like I don't have anything to hold on to anymore, because I felt like I've accomplished, quote unquote, my lifelong goal, right? And until and that spiraling down actually took quite a while. And it made me question a lot of things, a lot of choices that I made in my life, including like why I study. And then I like during many trips back and forth to Thailand, I discovered something, and It's a lot of like Buddhist practice as well as reading, like books and observing my life. I asked myself, like, why do I study? Like, why do I have to become a more educated person? And like what intelligence are supposed to do to my life? And then I realized, like, if you like aggregate more resource, you can help more people. And I started experimenting that with my own life. When I was struggling really deeply, I started reaching out to talk to people who are also struggling. Without talking about my own issues, I listen to them intently, and I extend my help to them. And then I realized, like, in that moment, I feel so happy. I was happy not because my life was better, but I just felt happy genuinely because, like, there's something beautiful in the struggle. I mean, in the struggle, you see kindness. In the struggle, you see efforts. And then I realized, oh shit, like, I really love to struggle. I really love to contribute, to dedicate my life to solve people's problems. So that was when it became a curse to me. I cannot do anything else apart from starting my own company. If I join an organization and I don't see what I'm doing every day that's contributing to the wellness and well-being of other people's lives, I would end up quitting that company. So the only way I could live in, I could survive for an extended period of time is to build my own. And I've been with EATLAB for, like, this is the 6th year. So I brought this picture up, even though this picture is not like the one that I took, but there was this moment when I felt like, I'm really facing a roadblock. The company only had like maybe 2 months of runway left. And I mean, people should be used to that, but I'm totally not used to it. And I just felt like, I'm trying so hard, and it's, like, I'm not seeing the results yet. I try every possible means, from like finding revenue to meeting with 2 or 3 investors per day for the past like 30 days. So I've met with like 100 investors, and all were no, right? I mean, we'll just wait, blah, 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 right? But then I saw this picture that I had. I was driving around like maybe 8 p.m. at night or 7 p.m. Going up this road, and it was raining so hard, but there was this man who was still, pushing his garbage cart. He's a garbage collector like these. He was pushing it up the hill. It was so steep that, he was pushing and he was sliding back, and he was pushing and he was sliding back. It was in the rain, right? And I was driving because of the traffic, so I was able to see him for an extended time or whatnot. But then I realized, like, hey, that's, like, he's trying, even though it doesn't get him anywhere. Like, I mean, he's going up and then he's sliding back. He's going up and sliding, but he doesn't stop, because for him, stopping means that he's gonna like go back to the bottom, right? So he can't. Then that became my inspiration too. And I realized, like, like, everybody is fighting in their own way. And yeah, and I wanted to join that struggle. So I don't know why I'm like, I hope that this whole thing makes sense. At least it should get you to ask yourself if you're the startup person or not. Yeah, like, I mean, I do have deep questions about life a lot of the times. Yeah, maybe I'll share one more story. When I was in India, that was maybe 2017, 2018. I saw in front of a 6-star hotel, right? In Delhi. I was there for a talk, and I saw this beggar who was a mom. She was like breastfeeding like this baby she was holding, and she was begging for money. I like, in that moment I realized, like, why society has gone to, you know, like how, like how the world gets to this point. Like, I mean, like, honestly speaking, like, how did we get here? Like, how do we get to a point where in front of a 6-star hotel where people are just like having fine dining, some like nursing mother is begging for money. I mean, it's just like, for me, it's really difficult to like to digest. I don't think that this is how the world's supposed to be. So, I mean, being entrepreneur, to some extent, you should be unhappy about something, because if you're unhappy about it, that means you wanted to change it. And, you know, to figure out what makes your heart like feel that way, the way that I'm expressing to you over this like video, which I don't know how much you can feel from my heart, but you should use that. Like, that is the most important thing in starting a company. So building an AI company or not, building a startup company or not, like, you know, this is the core, like, of why you start a company. So for me, like, when I see the people who really trying but still in the same place, it's just like a no. Like, I have to change that. My life, I'm born to really fix that problem. So that's who I am. But when you're executing that idea, right, you're not just like in this magical unicorn land where everything is full of wonder. You know, like, you go here and you find this magical powder, and then like once you throw it in the air, everything will change. That's, you know, being a startup founder, you don't do that. Like, you have to go between the two things, right? You have an ideal that's everything is possible, that you can change this world of inequality, where you can provide people opportunity to change their life. But at the same time, like, there's this gap between the reality of like the world sucks and people are not true, but you're just threading between the two, the black and white. Yeah, so starting a company, the first thing, you have to start with why. And the second part, it's really, really hard. It's to always have a reality check that, are you in the magical fairyland or are you in the like the deep dark shit land? So you must not be in either places. But, you know, like, you need to know that you need to have a constant reality check that currently you're not making a metrics that fool your company, that fool yourself, that your company is successful, because you aren't, you know. So that's a magical land, right? And you can't just say like, nothing is working, my life is gonna, you know, the company is gonna die, like, you know, like nothing is like really working. So threading between the two, I think it's actually what differentiates good founders and the others. Yeah, so okay. All right, so a bit more mechanistic, I will share, based on the books that I've read, how to build a product. So if you listen to me a little bit about what I mean by product, and maybe we'll go into a bit more details of, you know, like how building a product is. So, all right, let's just skip a little bit. So like the definition of a product in this sense means, for example, I'm giving an analogy of a restaurant, right? So what is a product of a restaurant, right? So product of a restaurant, some might say it's food, some might say it's ambient, some might say it's drinks or like convenience, but it's not either one, it's all of them. So a product is a mechanism that allow the company to transfer value to its customers. So that includes, how do you find the customers? Where do you reach them? How do you keep them coming back? How do you deliver value to them? How do they pay you? How much are they paying you? So everything is a product. I used to think differently. I used to think product is a website, product is a book, product is an app, but that's not it. So if you look at an app, right, how do you communicate to your customers, right? How do you generate leads to click on the download? And then after download, how do you get them to use the product? How do you get them to use the actual, to actually feel the value that your app is delivering to them? And then after that, how do you keep them coming back? So product is not just the food that you eat from a restaurant. Product could be like the ambience. Product could be the special occasion. I'm just so happy I could take photo and then post it on my Instagram and show like all my friends. That could be, right? So the idea of running a company as an experiment is the core of the thesis of this methodology called lean startup, right? I mean, you might have heard of it, but I just wanted to share a little bit on some of the things that I have kind of concluded from series of like 4 different books on lean startups that I've read. So there are actually 4 processes in starting this one. Okay, so I don't know why it doesn't show. Okay, so process of product building. So product is company. I mean, it's the consumer side of the company. It's not the internal side of the company. Process of company building for the customer side, right? So this, I interview Facebook product manager to come up with this. So we have to understand the validation loop and the review loop and the execution loop. A lot of the times when we're building startup, we think that building a startup is building, they think it's building a company, a startup company is building up like a website, but it's not. Like if you think that that's building a website, it's here. It's like the execution part. And a lot of times people just get it wrong because they ignore what comes before that. So like Einstein said, if you have like, 5 minutes, if you have 10 minutes to work on a problem, you should spend 8 or 9 minutes thinking about the problem and then 1 minute solving them, right? So this is the thinking of the problem, to understand and to validate your understanding. And then you use that to pick and, pull pieces together, then you execute. So we're going to be talking about a very important element of this company/product building called the validation or the invalidation. So what I mean by validation is to figure out if something is correct or not, right? But when I add the word invalidate, I kind of wanted to use invalidation more, because to find out what you don't know, you ended up knowing, right? So so you have to really push yourself to set an assumption that you're so sure about, to really attempt to invalidate yourself. So there are 3 types of validation or invalidation. The first one is the problem. Second one is the market. Last one is the product. So these 3 are kind of like เหมือนเก้าอี้3 ขา ใช่ไหม? So like 3 legs of a chair. You can't just have 2. You need to have all 3 working at the same time. But in order to validate, you need to fix 2 and figure out 1. And then you go repeat with the other 2, and then you check out the other leg. And then you keep doing this until it's a constant process of validation. So let me first explain what the validating the problem means. So the problem is, who has a problem? I mean, yeah, like a particular problem, when you validate a problem, you start to hear certain groups of people talking about problems that are specific to them. So for example, for restaurants, yeah, you can, you know that if a restaurant that has, if it's a kiosk, you know that the owner would constantly complain about how their staff sometimes like are not present at the store, at the shop, แบบทิ้งร้านอะไรอย่างงี้ใช่ไหมคะ so that's like a particular problem of a particular type of users, right? The second one is to validate or invalidate the market. So market is like paying money. So are they you know, if they have this problem, are they gonna be able to, are they gonna want to pay you money? Want to pay you money, right? Let's say for that kiosk situation that they don't want their employees to leave the store. Are they willing to pay for a service that will blah, 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 to enable their employees to, you know, to not leave the shop, right? So that's validating the market. And the last one is validating the product. So who is willing to pay for what? So this is the what part, right? So the product is the what part. So let's say the kiosk problem, let's say. So this is an extreme case. You're the owner of the kiosk, like bubble tea kiosk thing, and then you hire someone like 300 บาท ต่อวัน มานั่งเฝ้าร้าน and then the question is like, are you willing to pay 20 baht or 30 baht for my service? And I will give you an on-demand switching of like a staff, or that's a product, right? Or I will give you a nudge. I will send you a notification when your staff is not present at the shop, right? You know, for it's like how many, you know, for per day, with however many notification I will give you with the exchange of this money. So that the notification thing is it's this one, right? The what, who is willing to pay for what? So this whole like triangle is constantly going in circle, right? So once you figure out, okay, this is right, you fix these, and then you validate this, and then you fix this, and you validate this, and you do it simultaneously all the time. And this is a process. It's not a one-time thing, right? So as you hear, like people talk about business model canvas. So let's say like, you know, this whole thing is an iteration. This is a problem. This is the market. Sorry. No. Sorry. This is validating the problem, validating the product, and validating the market, right? So here, and here. Yeah. Okay, so in the sequence of importance, how should you validate or invalidate the so let's say this is the most difficult part, is validation of the product, right? So you figure out who has what problem, and then now you have to figure out what specifically would solve that problem and allow them to pay you that amount of money. So target segments, who's, you know, and the second one is through which channel. And then the third one is how do you activate them, right? How do you get them to pay? How do you activate them to become an active user? And then what's your solution? And then the last one is how much you price. So pricing should be the last thing that you would test in a product. All right, so the different approaches to running experiments, but the most important thing is to have a mindset of a child. So you see her face, right? She's like, I mean, I don't know how like made up this picture is, but let's say she's really excited to know like why it's foaming out of this, right? Like she just poured in this red thing and then it became like a white foam. So that excitement of knowing what you don't know is the key thing, because people usually, as they grow up, somehow loses that, right? So the most important thing in running a company and building all this process was to actually implement this feeling of curiosity into the process. So methods is, like you can learn and read about usability testing, you can read about all these things, but most important thing is that mindset. So this is all I have on building the company, but me quickly share with you that honestly, like whatever happens, whether it's best case or worst case, you're gonna face problems. Like you're not born into this world to be a problem, to like you're not born into a problem-free world. You're born into a world full of problems, but your job to really live with that much joy that you could contribute to other people's well-being, you should be the one who runs to the problem and it's say, hey, like this is a new problem. I'm so excited to solve it. And I will do it with like good cheer and joy. So I will constantly learning. I'm like, constantly learning to fix each of these problems. So whether good thing happens or bad thing happens, if we can continue to keep this mindset, I think for me, that's really what I learned in building my company. So best case, worst case, we'll see, we'll face failures anyway, but let's enjoy them. Okay, so thank you very much. I think we have some questions here, right?
Yes, okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Mi. And right now we are at the Q&A section. Okay, please feel free to drop your questions below the chat box or comment box. So let's get started with some interesting questions from participants. From the first one, from Khun Pri Wong. What if the return point during the product introduction failed?
Okay, she's also here also, right?
Yeah.
Can you clarify? Can you
Oh,
clarify your question?
It's like the graph that you show, one of the things that has like a death graph, and there's a lot of development going on, and it develops until a point that it's like a product introduction, you're getting some money, and then it goes up. And what if like on that point it doesn't return, but it's still going down? Would it be like a fair? How would you think that we work up with that?
I think once you solve enough problems, there'll be a tipping point. Once you, but like the thing is, like if we keep postponing the part where we're actually like, fixing the fundamental core of our business, it's just gonna keep going down, right? You just keep burning more money without any return in sight and directions of growth. Yeah, so like you solve enough important problems. Not all of them, just enough, but more. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, and our next one from Dr. Panarat, right? As a company is EATLAB.ai, can you elaborate more how AI can help for your business?
Oh yeah, I didn't talk about that at all, right? Yeah, so restaurants do not use data in their daily operations at all. Like zero. There was like zero touch point with data. I mean, they only check. I mean, we're talking about the small and medium-sized restaurants. So they only check daily revenue, but they don't use their sales data to figure out what their customers like and then figure out how to upsell to a similar group of customers. That's not what they do, right? So what we're trying to do is to get them closer to that stage when they can be upselling items that would likely to increase their sales. So that's where we come in. So it's like predicting the next purchase, predicting and recommending relevant items to help them increase the average ticket size. Yeah, but that's one of the many potential applications that AI can help restaurants, because the fact that they don't use data at all, like there's a lot of opportunities to help them with that. Yeah, but we'll just start with one thing, only one thing. Yeah.
Yes, okay. And 2 more questions. Young people may not know what they really want to do. Someone may just see themselves that, well, they can do something good, but not sure it is really things they can spend life with. Do you have any suggestions to let them discover things that fit them or find things that they really want to do?
Yeah, I think this is a very important question. And it's a kind of question that we should continue to ask ourselves. Again, I don't think it's like, oh, I figured this out and then I'll hope to figure it out for the rest of my life. I will share my personal experience, but I don't know how generalizable it is. For me, like to answer your question in a simpler form is that you just try out everything as many as you can. That's what I did. When you were reading out my education background, I had like a lot of minors and a lot of majors. I study political science, I study economics, I study finance, I study everything because I'm just curious, like what I like. Yeah, a lot of people tend to like things that they do well. But I think that's comfort zone. For me personally, when I ask questions to like new graduates, I would tend to see like, oh, I like math because I like my teacher. And that's like, okay, that's a good thing. But I just feel like, like math is a very beautiful language. For me, I really love math too. I think it's a most concise form to express something, like, like it's a language that you can express something in a very concise form. That's why I like math. I don't like it because it's a teacher, because what's going to happen when that teacher changes and she becomes like a different person the next day and you stop liking math, it should be something fundamental to the thing that you like. So the reason for liking and for knowing that this is what you want to do should not change because of others, not change because of other people or like the surrounding, right? Because it's you versus that thing that you're gonna do. It's only a relationship between you and that. What allows you to figure out if this is what you really want to do for the rest of your life, it's how many struggle can you endure to still want to do that. Yeah. So I mean, I'm kind of answering this question in like 3 layers. The first one is like, how do you know that this is like what you're supposed to be doing? And I'm saying that should not be something that's dependent on things that change. It should be like between you and that. And then the second one is try out many different, like have different experiences in different things and then see like where your life responds. I'm probably not like the best answer for you. It's just like it's very personal. Yeah, so you found some case of engineering students that are curious about themselves. They can study engineering, but they don't want to be engineer. It's kind of confusing. I think that I'm not sure if I really understand the question very much. But it's kind of hard to say like you are like, an engineer or you are like something, like it's not like an engineer. I don't even know what the definition is. I mean, I'm sure like it's probably related to like building something. But a construction worker also builds something. So I'm not sure, like, I don't know what that definition means, like to be an engineer. You mean like to have an engineering job in a firm or something? But like right now, the definition of occupations and professions are very loose. Children like in this days and age can create their own jobs. right? We should not limit them to like these names, right? Like, oh, I want to be a mathematician, right? Oh, I want to be a scientist and I want to be an engineer, because honestly, I don't even know what that looks like to be a scientist. Is that like someone who works in a wet lab, or is that someone who are studying bioscience and figuring out how to like save the world with the new drugs or something? Like, I think the definition of these jobs, it's really up to interpretation and also like the market acceptance of that person in the job market. Yeah, but I think I'm going out and about on like maybe not answering that Kun Panarat's question per se. But yeah, so I mean, if she's here, like she can join me in explaining like, you know, how she feels and, you know, with the students and stuff, so I could be more helpful.
I think she's not here.
Okay.
Okay. But also, thank you. Yes. Are there any questions? Yes. The question is, you mentioned about 2 to 3 books on planning a startup, such as Learn Startup. Would you mind naming it them? Okay.
Yeah, so here, Lean UX, UX for Lean Startup. Hold on. Let's see, new share this one. Okay. Let's see, some books that I have partially read. This one is really good, Running Lean. And then last one is Lean Analytics. So yeah, so Running Lean actually has a very practical approach. They're not just telling you like philosophically what Lean Analytics, what Lean startup is, but they just tell you like, this is what you do, 1, 2, 3, 4, you know. So it's pretty good, like Running Lean, Lean Analytics, Lean UX, and then UX for Lean Startups. So these are all from practitioners, people who build team with Lean before. So other books that are actually pretty good. I mean, if I could recommend number 1 to read, is 0 to 1 for startups, right? Like this is like my most favorite book, like from all time. 0 to 1. Yep.
Okay. If there aren't any questions, I would like to thank you, Assistant Professor Chanikarn Wongviriyawong, or Dr. Min, again for today's talk. And we hope you come back as our speaker again next time. We really appreciate it. Okay. And also, yes, and also thank you everyone for attending our second TikTok 2023 AIEI X EATLAB. We hope to see you again in the next episode. Please stay tuned. Have a nice day. Goodbye. สวัสดีครับ
สวัสดีค่ะ ขอบคุณค่ะ
ขอบคุณมากนะครับ